Hello, hello. We are back. Coffee Talk with Christelle. Excited to share with you some updates. So, start with a little quick sip of coffee. Bring your coffee as well. A little cappuccino. Funny thing is, I do have a little coffee, an actual coffee. Silly me in a Nutella cup, but it's a coffee. Our Thursday Coffee Talk with Christelle. So, let's get into it. Actually, before. Okay. Is the spring housing market actually as crazy as everyone says right now? Because I just look at the latest numbers, which got here, from the National Association of Realtors. And honestly, it's more nuanced than the headlines are making it seem. So stick with me because this directly affects whether you should be buying or selling right now. Only 26% of real estate agents expect buyer traffic to go up over the next 3 months. This is the lowest it's been in over a year. So if you've been waiting for the market to calm down before making a move, here's the thing. It already is. Let me break it down exactly what that means for you. But real quick, if you want to understand what's happening in the real estate market before making your one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, please hit that subscribe button. I know it's cliche, but you know how it works. So I break this stuff down every week so it actually makes sense. All right, so let's get into it. So here's what the data is actually telling us right now. First, competition is easing up. We are seeing fewer homes sell above the asking price compared to this time last year. 18% of homes sold above list price this March versus 21% last March. That's real. That's meaningful if you're a buyer who kept losing bidding wars. Second, cash buyers are pulling back. So about 27% of purchases were all cash this month. It's down from 31% just last month. So that's less competition from investors and cash buyers, which is actually great news if you are looking to finance for your owner occupied and using financing. Third, homes are still moving fast. The average home is still going under contract in 30 days. Again, average home, which tells you demand hasn't disappeared. But here's the thing. Buyers are no longer waiving their inspection. I would never waive an inspection. And they're not also waiving their appraisal contingencies at the same rate. 18% waive inspections this month compared to 22% a year ago. I'm still surprised by those numbers. Why would you waive opening the hood of your car to see what's going on, going blindsided? That's just, I wouldn't. But numbers don't lie. 18% waived it. So that means you've more negotiating power and more protection than you did 12 months ago. Now, if you're a seller, the market is still moving for you. And you're working because you just don't, let me just say that again. I'm going to say you have to work a little bit more, but it's not as effortless as 2022. Homes are still getting on average 2.2 offers. So it's not zero offers, just less, 2.2. That's not a dead market, but you do need the right strategy, the right price, and the right agent because buyers have a little more leverage than they did. And one more thing, first-time buyers are actually showing up. They represented 32% of all buyers this month. So if you've been feeling priced out and like nobody's in your corner, you're not alone, the market is actually creating some room. So bottom line, this market isn't impossible. It's just different than what you've been hearing. And the people who win right now are the ones who actually understand what the data says. So if that was helpful, please share this video with someone who's being stressed out about whether to buy or to sell. And that could potentially save you some expensive mistakes. Please don't waive your your appraisal contingency, and your home inspection. And if you want this kind of information that just gets reminded to you, please go ahead and subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, I'll see you at the next topic. As you guys know, I break it down with a little sip of coffee just to give you a chance to digest what we just talked about, how the market is right now. Again, this is nationwide information from National Association of Realtors. Now I'm going to change our background. Get to the next topic. It'll be more fun. All right, so who's buying? Okay. Nobody's talking about the fact that baby boomers are dominating the housing market right now. And I mean dominating. 42% of all home purchases, almost half. While everyone's focused on interest rate and inventory, boomers are out here buying homes with cash and equity, and younger buyers don't even know they're the competition. This video is actually going to change how you see this market. Before I get all into it, if you want to actually understand the housing market and not just be confused by it, hit subscribe. So I do this every week. I be honest, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about today? But there's always so much information that can be shared. So I do my live on Thursdays and I keep it real, no fluff. So let's get into it. So let's look at this generation by generation, as you can see my chart here. All right, you got a glance? Awesome. Because data is wild. Baby boomers, 42% of all home purchases. That's almost half. These are people in their 60s, 70s, and some even older. A lot of them are downsizing. A lot of them are relocating. And many of them are paying cash because they already have the equity in their home that they currently own and purchased decades ago. So when you are in a bidding war and losing to someone who doesn't even have a mortgage, well, there's a real good chance it's a boomer. All right, millennials, 26%. Where's that number? You see right there. Millennials, 26%. Now, before you say, wait, millennials are in their 30s and 40s. Why is the number so low? The answer is affordability. Millennials, they do want to buy. They're at peak family formation age, but student debt, high rates, and limited inventory have been chipping away at with that share of years. The good news, they're still in the market and they are not giving up. Gen Z, 25%. Where's my pointer here? There we go. Gen Z, 25%. The forgiven middle, Gen Z is quietly buying, often upsizing or moving for work, and they tend to be pretty steady buyers regardless of market conditions. Not flashy, but reliable. Gen Z, right there, 4%. These are buyers in their early to mid 20s. And look, 4% is actually not nothing. It's 4% for generations that's barely entering the workforce. But the real question is, what does that number look like in 5 years when more of them are established in careers? That's when things could get really interesting. And the silent generation of 4% people in their late 70s and 80s is still buying home. So silent generation. Whoops, I might point out this way. Oh my gosh. So if you are a buyer, especially a younger buyer, you are competing against people who have decades of equity behind them. That means your strategy has to be smarter, not just faster. Get your pre-approval solid, know your numbers, and work with someone who can help you write competitive offers. Your realtor has to be really strong, not just high ones, competitive offers. And that's by putting financing contingency, due diligence, all of the details on the contract. If you're a seller, your most likely buyer is either a boomer downsizing, or a millennial finally ready to pull the trigger, or a Gen Z family that's been planning this move for 2 years. Each of those buyers has totally different motivations, and how you present and price your home matters differently for each one. So you really want to know, where's my audience? Who's buying? Which one of those categories of buyers is my home attracting? And here's the thing, most people buying or selling have no idea who they are actually competing with. And that's the really expensive blind spot. So if this video helped you understand the market a little better, send it to someone who's in the middle of either buying or selling or listing their home. It might be exactly what they need to hear. And if you want to keep getting, of course, this information weekly, you know how to do this. Hit the subscribe and share with others, and I'll see you there. All right, moving to our next and last topic. Today, I'm actually going to do 3 topics because we're going to get into the other live shortly. So I'm going to do it this way, because I'm actually going to share with you an introduction of what I'm going to be doing. So did you know that qualifying for an investment property loan and qualifying for a regular home loan are not even close to the same thing? And nobody talks about it, like really breaks it down, which is exactly why so many people get rejected or leave money on the table before they even get started. So whether this is your first rental property or 10th, this series is going to walk you through everything about investor financing that actually matters. So let's start at the beginning. Quick thing before we get into it. I'm dropping a few episodes in this investor financing series every week. And of course, if you don't want to miss it, you know what to do. Start following me, start hitting subscribe, or share this information. So let's talk about what actually changes when you go from buying a home to move in to an investment property, because surprises almost everyone. Number one, your income is actually calculated differently. When you buy a home to live in, the bank looks at your W-2, your tax returns, your pay stubs. It's pretty straightforward. But when you're buying investment property, they may factor in the projected rental income from that property, but not all of it. Most lenders will count about 75% of expected rent towards your qualifying income to account for the vacancy. And if you're self-employed and have multiple properties, it gets even more layered. So knowing this upfront changes how you present yourself to a lender. Number 2, the down payment requirements are higher. So owner-occupied, primary residence, first-time buyer may start at about 3 to 5%. And for your investment property, you're looking at a whopping 15 to 25% down. Minimum 15, pricing is not as great, but 25%, so 20% is your in between. That's not a small difference. That's a completely different savings target, and you usually need to have some reserve also. So the of course, the more units, so it's like we can do up to 4 units when it's a residential, and the more units you have, you may actually have to put a larger down payment. Number 3, your interest rate will also be higher. Investment property loans carry more risk to the lender because if you think about it, if you have a hardship, you're going to take care of your primary residence first, the roof over your head, versus the property you own as an investment. So they know the payment may be more at risk versus your primary residence. So that's why higher down payment and higher interest rates because of the risk. Okay. The other aspect we're going to share is your DSCR. What is a DSCR? Debt service coverage ratio. Qualify you based on the property's income, not your personal income. We're going to touch on some harmony loans, which are short-term financing and asset-based. Portfolio loans stay with the lender and have more flexibility. Okay, so I'm going to be doing series so you can understand each one, see how you can evolve and improve your portfolio. So that's episode 1. Next week, we're going to go deep in on DSCR, what they are, and who it's actually for. So my series is going to be not necessarily in this order right now, but investor financing series, how to qualify as an investor in a differently from your primary residence, DSCR loans explained, down payment strategies, and the biggest financing mistakes investors make. And we'll tweak those a little bit based on how the market is letting me know, you know what, this is how we're going to cover this. So I am trusting this information was helpful, and you know what to do. I'm going to start having fun with this. I need to have a little sticker, Irene, right? That says subscribe, because you're on YouTube. You know, this is what we get to do. So I can share this information with more and more of you guys. So thank you so much. See you all next Thursday.